My next claim is that morality and purpose cannot be found within science.
Yeah. I don't even know how this can be refuted. Like this particular claim, I don't even know how it's refutable.
I think it's interesting that you say that morality and purpose can't be found in science. Actually,
No, within science.
Sure. Yeah. Purpose, I actually grant you, because purpose is subjective, right? Unless you want to boil it down to the purpose of life is just to procreate, right? Sure, whatever. Morality is actually something that we do see. We actually have examples of Neanderthals, an older individual was found in a tribe, missing an arm, missing teeth, still alive somehow in his 40s, 50s, right? Typically, you're a Neanderthal, you can't eat, you can't hunt, you die, right? But
What? What the fuck does Neanderthals have to do with morality being found in science? What the fuck is he talking about? What is he talking about?
we know that members of his tribe were taking care of him, right? So we know that at some level, early in our evolutionary history, we actually developed altruism. We have examples of chimpanzees who actually have a basic understanding of fairness, right?
What? So fucking what? What does that have to do with morality being found in science? What is he talking about?
If you give a chimpanzee 2 grapes, right, and his buddy gets 3, right? He actually freaks out, right? But you give both chimps 3 grapes and they're good. We have examples of parrots.
Except for the greedy chimps.
Except for the greedy chimps.
They want 4 grapes.
They want 4 grapes. You know, those do exist, right? But we have similar examples where we do animal tests, right?
So morality is intrinsic.
I think.
So it precedes science.
I think that actually a better way to define it would be that social animals, which we are, right, require some level of morality or.
Into what? I'm not disagreeing.
Sure.
Why do they require that?
Because it's the only way that social groups can actually survive, right?
That's my point with regards to science. Thank you very much.
Is that?
Precisely the point that you just made, that science has to exist within a moral framework that isn't in itself scientific.
How's that?
Correct. He's absolutely correct here. How is this guy pointing out that anthropological evidence, which points to Neanderthals being empathetic, somehow means that science itself has some coordination with morality? What the fuck is he talking about? What is he talking about?
It's not scientific.
Well,
this dude is about to conflate science with intelligence, and that the higher function of your brain, the more you're able to collaborate. That has nothing to do with anything. Peterson's claim is that this is a methodology, that you don't find morality within it. Morality is not a thing which can be scientifically demonstrated as being true, right? It's not like you can't demonstrate it as being a descriptive claim about anything. It's like science itself may only be done within a moral framework, right? But science itself has no necessity for a moral framework, right? It's like it's not a necessary component. Just like pointing out that Neanderthals had empathy, how is that science demonstrating morale? I don't get what he's saying.
Because it's not derived from the scientific process, as you just indicated.
It doesn't derived from the scientific process. It's the fact that we are social animals and we need that to exist as a group.
I agree.
But sure.
Yeah. Okay.
You pointed to the morality of Neanderthals, to the morality of chimpanzees. They didn't derive that from science.
They don't need to. That's not how that works.
That's my point.
Science explains it.
Yeah, we can get anthropological evidence that people were empathetic. So what? What does that have to do with morality being found within science? What does that have to do with that? If I saw someone save another life through binoculars, does that mean binoculars can be used to find morality? Yeah, it's the fucking, I don't even know why you would bring this up. It has nothing to do with anything.
This doesn't explain morality.
It doesn't explain how social animals would need to be.
Well, that's a complicated question.
But we see it though.
Yeah, but explaining the evolution of morality and explaining morality itself aren't the same thing.
No, they're not the same thing. Duder is showing why most people should not vote. They approach with no actual understanding of what they're engaging in. He has no idea what he's talking about.
Because you're asking, why does this happen?
Yes, that's more accurate.
Because we're social animals and we need to be.
Yeah, but there's more to it than that.
Is there?
Sure. For example, so we're moral animals that have a sense of the future.
Sure.
Okay, that makes us unique. And that structures our morality.
No, actually, there are other animals that can predict the future. Or not predict
really.
the future. No, tigers. Actually, there was a tiger at the SF Zoo that killed somebody. And so
Hunting
actually,
animals.
No. Kids threw shit at the tiger. The tiger actually plotted its escape, and it found the kids.
I'm not saying that animals can't think.
Okay.
No, but they can
pause here.
perceive the future.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Well,
So what?
Voted out by the majority.
Thank you, man.
good man. Yeah,
Dr. Peterson?
good to see you, man.
Pleasure.
What's your name?
Brian. So the first thing I would like to say is I would like to engage in this discussion in a symbiotic manner. I would not like to engage where there is one clear winner and one clear loser. Emotions are activated and it ultimately comes about ego. So I'm just saying I'm really trying to understand your position, and I would just like you to really try to understand my position.
Deal.
Okay, sounds good. With that, if you're saying that morality and purpose cannot come from science, is the opposite of that true, that morality and purpose can only come from God?
That's a way of defining it, yes.
Okay.
That's right, that's good. So I would say that with regard to the first claim, say, atheists don't understand what they're rejecting, because I would say by definition, God is the unity upon which moral claims are based. That's a
Okay.
definition, right?
Okay, if there is a God, what is the purpose of life?
Well, in the Christian tradition, the purpose of life is to engage in voluntary, upward, self-sacrifice so that the kingdom of heaven can be established on earth.
So you're trying to make it to heaven and avoid hell.
Yes, that's
Okay.
a good way of thinking about it.
What is the purpose?
Ooh. That wasn't great from Peterson. This op coordination is weird since Grapers and lefties are aligning to Clipchimp, JP. He didn't do amazing, but his opposition is trash. Oh, well, actually, I was talking about something else, right? But in this case, the left and the right both hate this guy. They both hate Peterson. Love him or hate him, Peterson did. He was kind of the first symbol for the anti-trans movement, right? He was the symbol for that. And, you know, he had some kind of major victories early on. You know, he went on tour with a very good message. The idea that, you know, we shouldn't let fucking 18 and 19-year-old political activists who don't even have their own shit together start making societal prescriptions about fucking anything. That was a good message. And it's one that I still very much support. It was a good message. The idea that 18, 19, 20-year-old socialists and fucking communists shouldn't be trying to tell the rest of us how society ought to be run when these fuckers don't even know how to make their own bed. They don't know how to cook their own food. They're living at home with their parents. You know what I mean? They don't have any real life experience. I thought that that was a great message. And I thought that at the time, the right wing really needed to hear that message, that it was really good counter rhetoric to what was going on. As the years have gone by, Peterson went from his original function, which if he had just stayed with that messaging and with the philosophy behind that messaging, he would still have every bit of the amount of support that he always had. But because they moved him he moved to, I think it was the Daily Wire, other things like this. Because of that, what has ended up happening is that he started weighing in on all sorts of issues that he really didn't need to weigh in on. They weren't that important for him to weigh in on those problems. I think the Christian versus atheist debate is tough because neither party believes the sources being cited by the other party. Nevertheless, Jordan Peterson wasn't the warrior we needed for this battle. Thanks for everything you do. Yeah, Well, I mean, they picked him because he's a big name. He's going to draw a big audience, and that's exactly what he did.
Do you understand?
Well,
so here's the deal.
At
we
minimum,
can
minimum,
get
it's
into
the
an
opposite
infinite.
of endless suffering. How about that?
Okay, and so should we not try to achieve infinite suffering on planet Earth? And if we can achieve infinite suffering on planet Earth without God, avoiding it, if we can do that without God, then does that defeat your claim?
Well, yeah, except that it doesn't. You circumvented my initial definition because I said that by definition, God was the unified source of morality. And so if we engage in a moral exercise...
And when you're talking about morality, though, when you really reverse engineer it and you get it down to its root, you're a psychologist, it really seems like it just has to deal with motivation. People are saying there is a God,
It's more specific than that.
Well, so let me ask you this. So if there is a God and there is a moral code and it doesn't come at your benefit, are you going to follow it?
So one of the big things that just happened here, and if you've dealt with enough of these fucking Twitch leftists and TikTok leftists, you know how this works. Whenever one of them says, I just want to have a conversation, they're fucking lying to you. They have pre-made, prefabricated talking points and prefabricated gotcha questions, which are designed specifically to lull you into a false sense of security because they're just trying to have a conversation with you before they spring the trap. You can't fucking trust any of them. You can't trust a single leftist ever. When they say that they're there to have a conversation, they're almost always lying to you. They're almost always actually trying to angle towards some kind of debate without you being ready for it. That's it.
It depends on how you define your benefit. If
it's going to come at your expense, would you still follow it? If God came down and said, here is my moral code and you should follow it, but even if you follow it, you are still going to end up in hell, are you going to follow it?
Well, that was the question that was put to Job and to Christ, right? Because they were required. Hang on, I'm answering your question. They were required to withstand trials that would break anyone and maintain their upward orientation regardless.
And they did that with the motivation of believing that this omnipotent, all-loving God would somehow turn it into a benefit. So they still did it solely for their benefit. So yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Hang on. Let's define.
I thought he just wanted to have a conversation. Doesn't sound like a conversation now, does it? It sounds like debate broing, doesn't it? Thought he just wanted to have a conversation, though. Fucking sneaky ass leftists. Never believe them. Anytime you go into any type of engagement with a lefty, progressive, never believe for a second that they want to have an actual conversation. They never fucking do, ever. They're lying to you to lull you into a false sense of security, to spring some sort of trap on you. That's what they do.
And benefit. Like, if I did something for your sister, would that be to your benefit? Like, how are you defining your benefit? Do you mean one of your whims gratified now? Or do you mean you and everyone you love and know over some reasonable span of time? Like,
so
what do you mean by
when you're talking about whims, I think you're talking about something that's more dopamine.
Exactly. Ray says, the first time you talked about the I just want to have a convo people, I was like, I don't know, maybe they do. Then you instantly peel back the onion. They reek of bad faith and ad homs. They're just lying to you. They're fucking lying to you. Never trust a leftist when he says he just wants to have a conversation. I just want to have a good conversation. Shut the fuck up.